All righty, welcome. We are getting started with the Parents Promoting Kindness webinar. Thank you for being here. If you're watching us after the fact, if you're here with us live and watching us after the fact, you can feel free to pause throughout and take notes. And of course, this is a resource. We are on YouTube Live also. And so we will have that available and you can share and rewatch. This will be an ongoing resource. So thank you for being with us today. My name is Anne-Marie Diaz. I am the program coordinator at the Family Resource Center, and I am very fortunate to be joined by my colleague, Mr. Nathan from Inclusion Cayman. And we are here together in partnership for Stood Up. We consider October to be Anti-Bullying Month. October is, of course, also a wonderful month for other awareness initiatives. Here at the Family Resource Center, we righty, welcome. We are getting started. I'm going with the Parents Promoting Kindness webinar. And thank you for being here. I can hear myself. Sorry, let me just close that. Apologies. Okay. So myself and Nathan, we are here today. It is also Child Safeguarding Month. The Department of Children and Family Services, another great community partner of ours, is observing that this week. And of course, talking about bullying and preventative measures and protective factors like we're doing today is certainly a way that we help to safeguard our children. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into today. And what we're reviewing are important points about bullying. Parents promoting kindness strategies. We have a few to review, and we're going to be hearing from Nathan about what inclusion can look like in our unique families.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And we're going to hear a little bit about what each of our agencies do outside of great presentations and partnerships like this. We're going to hear a little bit about what we do outside of this on a regular basis. So here's a little bit about what Family Resource Center do in a nutshell.
We are a team of compassionate parenting practitioners offering confidential, strength-based individual parenting sessions. Convenient. Our appointments are set based on parents' convenience, targeting unique and diverse family needs and dynamics. We are professional. Our parenting programs are research and evidence-based programs designed to help parents achieve family goals and feel confident in their parenting choices. Our programs are fully funded by the Cayman Islands government for all parents raising children in the Cayman Islands. To learn more about the services offered, register today and be supported towards the happiest and healthiest family life possible.
Yeah, so that is us. So outside incredible public awareness campaigns like Stood Up, we offer several others. We're going into International Men's Day public awareness campaign next month also. So we work with parents on an individual basis. We are very much strength-based. We're here to support you and walk with you in your journey. We are not here to judge. We are here to support and to fill your parenting toolbox as much as possible and fill you up with that confidence. And we have some incredible evidence-based programs. And a lot of what we're talking about here today too is all of it is based on research and evidence. And so you can be rest assured that you're walking away with good, reputable information. And so a little bit about Inclusion Cayman.
Inclusion Cayman believes individuals with disabilities have a right to equitable access to the same areas of life and community that individuals without disabilities are more automatically assigned. Fostering a sense of belonging stems from concentrated efforts in the three main cross-sections of community life: education, recreation, and employment. Our team of inclusion specialists are heavily involved with the local schools in efforts to rebuild their foundations so that they are better equipped to meet the needs of all learners. Schools that commit to adopting an inclusive approach witness a multitude of benefits affecting everyone, from the students to the administrators. Although the majority of people spend a quarter of their lives in schools, there is much more to life outside the confines of the classroom. Let's face it, nobody likes to sit on the sidelines, so that's why we support local recreation providers in making their services accessible to all to ensure that everyone can feel part of a team. Some may see it as child's play, but it's during these recreation and leisure activities that children learn valuable life skills that will assist them later in life. As they get older and begin thinking about possible career paths, Inclusion Cayman is there to provide guidance to both the prospective employees and the prospective employers. In collaboration with the Rotary Employment Partnership, we are able to find meaningful employment for people with disabilities in the Cayman Islands, which allows them to make their contribution to society. Inclusion Cayman is providing support across these areas of community life because we believe that everyone has a right to belong.
Well, thank you for that. Just a little bit of context. We are Inclusion Cayman. We are advocates for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities in all 3 Cayman Islands, and we advocate in 3 pillars of society, being employment, education, and recreation. We're honored to be here today to talk a little bit more about inclusion and how it meshes with the message of standing up to bullying. And we're happy to be presenting alongside FRC and how inclusion and kindness go hand in hand.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nathan. So just a few main points about bullying that we think are essential for parents to know is really to keep consistent in talking about bullying and the expectations you have for your child. This helps us as the parent because then we are critically thinking, we are staying informed because we're keeping it a part of the conversation, and we aren't then blindsided once our child starts asking about something or reporting something that has happened. We feel confident in that we know what we're going to do, and we feel confident that we've been preparing our children and our teens for when the inevitability that they may be exposed to something. And if not, then that's great. But we want to be prepared. We want to be educated and talk about the reality that we do have in our schools. And we're going to talk a little bit about the statistics and what the research says. Another great way to get informed is also to look at what your child's school's anti-bullying policies are. You will have access to this, and it should be relatively easy. It could be simply Googling the name of your school and typing in anti-bullying policy. You may find that you're lucky and it pops right up, or it may be on your school's website quite easily downloadable. But when in doubt, if it is really tricky to locate, definitely connect with the administrators of your child's or teen's respective school and say that I would like this. Schools should be sharing this quite regularly. They should have this as a regular conversation, especially at the beginning of school year. But that doesn't necessarily take place. And so us as the parent, we have to make sure that we are informed, that we understand the policy, and we are able to speak to our child about it in a age or developmentally appropriate way. So being able to take maybe some fancy language and turn it into something that's easily digestible, right? And then lastly, thinking about and talking with our children in a very collaborative way and constantly inspiring and encouraging a family culture of kindness. We believe kindness really is the antidote and the preventer of bullying, and exactly why we have partnered with Inclusion Cayman today. There should be rules of engagement. There should be expectations that we set based on our value systems of how we expect our children to behave. the expectations we have for ourselves too as the parent, and what we are supporting them in managing and echoing that language outside of the home too, whether in school or community. And so what we know about bullying, we've taken some data from the 2022 National Drug Council Youth Survey. They, of course, have other surveys. They have the 2024 one. We've taken data from the 2022 because there's a bit more as it pertains to bullying information. And what has been reported by all students between years 7 to 13 is nearly half of secondary school students have been bullied. They report they've been bullied at some point in their academic life. And we also see a significant disparity between girls and boys, girls feeling more comfortable to report compared to boys. And we do know, based on gender kind of expectations and roles that society has created over time, that girls tend to have an allowance, that we're allowed to share, we're allowed to report and feel safe. Boys don't necessarily receive that same message. And so as a parent of sons or young men in our life, it's important that we're advocating and supporting them, going with them if necessary, if they've opened up to us about something and we feel that we need to action further. And what we do know, though, although if you're listening to this, maybe this comes as a surprise in terms of it being a high number, but I would be on the end of saying because I've gone to school, we as adults, we've had experiences in school and potentially in college too. We at least have been exposed to bullying, and so we can even say that 100% of students will have some exposure to it if we're not necessarily in the role of bully or the role of target, but we more than likely have been in the role of bystander, the person or groups of people who are the observers of some form of bullying taking place. So that's a really important thing, I think, for us to bear in mind, that we've seen it and our children are likely seeing it, if not directly impacted by it. And we're going to talk about how the bystander, who can become the upstander, plays an incredibly critical role in preventing bullying and putting a stop to it. So we play the greatest role, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Now that we know the statistics on bullying from the NDC, here are some warning signs that we can be on the lookout, things that we can identify and things that we can clearly communicate. This includes perhaps you see someone who's being left out and or excluded or marginalized, someone who doesn't seem to have friends or seems to be shunned, someone who's always sitting or walking alone, or someone constantly making fun of others. But bullying does not and is not limited to the physical realm. It can happen in cyberspace as well, and more predominantly the internet. So cyberbullying can look like spreading rumors or posting false information, sending harassing messages, or posting compromising and or altered images of a person. It could even be persuading others to act in the same manner and propagating that behavior over different social media accounts. It could be posting private information that's not supposed to be shared about another person, or it could even be impersonating the victim.
So these can sound scary from a parent's standpoint, I know, but information is power, and it does give us a good vantage point of what's going on and how we can educate and empower our children to make safe decisions, whether, like Nathan said, whether in person or online. And let's speak a little bit more about how we can encourage our children to engage online safely. And we can do this through our own modeling too. but we do want to set some parameters around it. And here are a few suggestions. This is not an exhaustive list. And if you want some more information on anything we're talking about today, we highly recommend that you become a client at the Family Resource Center. Again, all our services are completely free of charge, and you can get a clearer goal kind of setting that is most relevant to you and your unique family, because every family is different. So a few bits about engaging online would be to not overshare. It is important that we maintain a sense of or some semblance of privacy instead of overexposing ourselves. And so we need to ensure that our children understand that by oversharing, they're potentially putting themselves in harm's way. And of course, we can talk about this a bit more on an individual or group-based basis to understand some of the issues that could occur there. Now, sharing where you are, where you're going, if you're traveling out of the country, if you're going to be in a particular space or location or event, can be a bit worrisome, especially when you think that people will know where you are at any given time, and where you're not also. So that is something that you should have as a definite no-no, that our young people should not be sharing where they are or will be at any given time. It encourages too much access and creates some danger there. We encourage our young people to be kind, to be empathetic, to engage with others like they would want themselves to be engaged with, and to definitely think about their future. We know that our young people aren't necessarily consequential thinkers just yet, but everything we put out there really can come back to haunt us, so to speak. So we want to be quite mindful and how we comment, what we post, and we'll get a little bit into the ICT law too that protects everyone. We also want to just emphasize too that you could potentially, what you put out there could go viral and not necessarily for the best things. So simply to think before you post. And so having that conversation with your children is so important. And I see, oh, Nathan, you've had a raised hand. Sure.
So a very tangible example of this is there was a trend on social media where kids were sharing their passport photo page on their profile. And that is entirely way too much information. Those are important documents. It's a primary source of identification, and it should not be linked to your social media persona in any way, shape, or form. Just to add to what Anne-Marie is saying.
Absolutely. And so we know that there's a Data Protection Act too. So as parents, we can review that a little bit, become familiar with that, as well as, I'm going to just jump ahead and go back. There's also our ICT law. So if we don't know about this, it's good to just review, know your rights, and be able, again, to share with your children in an age-appropriate way about the ICT law, which is the Information and Communications Technology Act. This law allows for legal actions against behaviors and actions that can be categorized under an umbrella of harassment, defamation, and unauthorized access to personal information. There are penalties, and this is something that we've actually been sharing in the schools, even with primary age children. We're letting them know there is this act. We need to start making sure that our behaviors are in line with this, no matter our age, because then if we're practice makes permanent, and if we're practicing the right ways of behaving and engaging as a digital citizen, we're going to take that into adulthood. And so this is laws and acts that are there to protect everyone. And so we want to make sure that people understand that we can't just do or say things online just for the sake of it. There are harmful consequences, and there are penalties to that. We do encourage young people because there is this kind of wave of, oh, just block them, ignore, never, don't engage. But if there's been something criminal that's taken place and you haven't screenshotted or share or saved that evidence, you could not be getting the justice you essentially are looking for. So we encourage young people, screenshot, save evidence first before you block. And yes, of course, blocking will keep you safer. A little bit else about what you can do if in person, if any unsafe situation, bullying and otherwise, if something doesn't feel right to you, our body typically responds and feels uncomfortable if we're in an unsafe situation. And so we want to encourage our children to pay attention to that. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And there's nothing wrong with checking with a safe adult. And children should know who their safe adult is. If they don't, that's something to talk about too. And safe adults within the school environment could be the school counselor. They typically are child safeguarding officers also, so they are often the best person to go to. But it could be the deputy principal. It could be the principal. It really can depend. And it's really great if parents are really having a great positive connection with the school and they know who is the go-to, who is the safe adult for them as the parent to report, and so will be the safe adult for their child. So we always say get away and stay away. If it's online, it could be that you're blocking, but again, make sure you're saving that information you need first and physically removing yourself from that unsafe situation as best you can and reporting what has happened. And practicing as an upstander. We want to make sure that someone else is there for us if we need it. And so we need to start acting as upstanders where offline and online. And that can be in different ways. That could be that we're going to intervene in that moment, maybe in an assertive or respectfully assertive manner. Or we feel the situation is too dangerous, we at least are going to report it. But at 100% of the time, the upstander is not just observing and seeing the danger, they're doing something about it. And as immediately as possible also. And I want to open the floor to Nathan, because I know there's a few points you were sharing with me about that earlier.
So it is important when you're standing up for yourself that you are assertive, and that's not just physically in person, but also in the virtual realm. So in physicality, you want to make eye contact, you want to stand upright, have an upright posture, and use I statements. However, you always want to be respectful as well. When you come to, let's say, the virtual realm, you want to use very concise statements, I statements, and you want to give them notice that I do not appreciate whatever this is. I do not appreciate this behavior. I do not appreciate what you're saying to me or what you're doing to me. I want you to stop. Be very clear and firm with your boundaries. And the most important thing is once you've already said this, follow through. Don't allow it to keep happening. If you've already talked to them and have disregarded your wishes and respect for you, then you have no further need to engage in conversation.
Absolutely. And as the parent engaging with our child and chatting about this, we don't want to just lecture and talk to them and talk at them about what they should do and what they should say, but we want to practice this with them. So this can be very playful. This can be, let's pretend we're Superman or Wonder Woman and do the Wonder Woman pose where our arms are at our sides and our shoulders are back. Science says too, if you practice this pose before you're going into something that could potentially get quite uncomfortable, it helps to boost you with confidence. So that's a great trick for kids. You can also use toys and puppetry. So instead of it being directly the child that's practicing, it's their Batman action figure that's acting in the confident way. Or they could pretend that, well, you're going to channel Batman because he's so confident, right? And you're going to channel and be a little bit like Batman when you're in that moment. Let's practice that now. And so having this practice with you during a neutral and even playful time really helps to gear our children up for potentially difficult moments, because it's easy to just not know what to do and you let your emotions kind of stay in the driver's seat, or your impulses kind of take over. So you really want to encourage practice and chatting about this and what would you do type questions and situations. Now, we'll speak a little bit about the power and influence of kindness. And kindness is not just some kind of fluffy, nice kind of idea. Kindness really matters, and it's backed by science. Research shows us that in over half of bullying situations, when someone intervenes, the bullying stops within 10 seconds. And outside of the bullying environment, just generally speaking, kindness matters. And there was a meta-analysis from Oxford University's Kind Lab that found that the giver of kindness actually benefits even more because their well-being, their mental health, their social well-being is boosted even more than the receiver, because we know the receiver of kindness benefits. So that is quite an interesting research kind of information for us. And it's really why it's so powerful, and it's something that we cannot undervalue, because it really is an antidote to bullying. It creates a society of people who are supportive and a sense of belonging for all. So now I'm going to share a quick video. Children really benefit from videos. This is something that you can share with your child. My child actually attended one of our school presentations, and when he came home to talk about it, he remembered this video, and we had to really talk about it a little bit more for him to remember other things. But this video is really powerful. It's very brief, and it's something that you can share with your children and your teens.
What kind are you? The welcoming kind?
Isn't that the girl from our science class?
Hi! The inclusive kind?
Let's do this. Come on, Devin. You're good. Mustang!
The friendly kind?
Oh, let's see them. Yo, those are dope. Jeez!
The respectful kind?
Yeah.
Kindness. Everyone deserves kindness. Become a part of it at muststopbullying.org.
That was such a cute video. I'm sure you'll agree. And we definitely encourage you to share that with your child and teen, and you'll be surprised how the conversation goes. And I found out my child feels that he's the friendly kind. And I'm like, okay, great. And of course, other conversations branched out from that. And so it's great to talk about kindness, but we want to get into the practicalities of it as the parent. So there's a few strategies we're going to share, and feel free to put into the chat if there's other ideas, because this is not an exhaustive list. And like I said, we can work with you on a one-to-one basis. If you want, if there's some things we're talking about and you think, yeah, this is a goal I have for me and my family, and I need some support in getting to that journey or on this journey. And so first one is the best parenting strategy, honestly, that we have is no strategy at all. It's simply the relationship that we build and we maintain with our child, which should be one that is nurturing, that is positive, that is loving, where we are modeling kindness. And of course, this is in a sense easier said than done, because we're human, we have hard days, we can get tired at times, but we want to always come back to this being kind of our platform and our base, that we, in essence, we are a family of kindness. And I, as the parent, am doing all I can to ensure that I'm modeling in how I treat my children. So then there's this expectation, this family value, that we are a family who are kind to one another. We are a family who are kind to others. And a child, we are primed to relate. We are primed to be attached to our parent, and therefore the parents, we are in an incredible position as being the greatest agents of change in society, in our child's individual life, and we have the greatest margin of influence over our children and the choices that they make. That's not to say that we are responsible for everything that they do, but we are responsible to support them in getting them back on track when maybe they've, come off of it, right? And so that relationship, it is about consistency every day, putting in some form and really having a routine or a habit where we can just build that in naturally to our routines. Because let's face it, we're very busy as parents. There's so many things on our to-do list. We have all these pickups and all of these tasks that we need to complete. Their homework needs to be done. Things have to be cleaned and ready for the next day. So how do you build in these quality, not necessarily quantity in terms of length of time, but how do we build in this quality time with our child to ensure that we are constantly connected and entering our child's world and modeling a sense of kindness? So a few ideas I'll share, but feel free to put it in the chat. We are live on YouTube if you want to put some ideas there. And the conversation never needs to stop. But a few ideas could be that before bed, we're going to share with one another what we appreciate about the other person, or we could do this on car rides home from the school. There's also, of course, science behind just simply being grateful boosts our sense of well-being. And people who are happy people aren't necessarily going to be engaging in bullying either. So it could be simple ways of fitting in just conversations like this, things that we're proud of for that day, and we want to compliment the other. It could be just learning about something that's happened that day in our child's life and asking to hear more. A child that feels that their parent is interested in what they have to say, no matter how quote unquote small, they feel important. And if they feel important and their voice feels heard, they're going to then take the kindness that you're giving to them and share that with others. And Nathan, feel free to jump in on any of these. I'm very happy to hear. And we're going to hear more too about Inclusion Cayman specifically in creating inclusive family life. So anything you want to put in the chat now, feel free, and we can chat about it, any ideas you have. Otherwise, I'll keep going with the strategies. Another strategy is creating and maximizing unteachable moments. So
Right.
we know that practice makes permanent. I've said it about using toys and playful moments to chat and prepare for things, but also things pop up. We might be reading a book together, and this is an opportunity to do kind of what would you do in this situation type of opportunity, or their favorite character on the TV show, and real life situations too. And you were going to mention something, Nathan?
All I want to say is that if you train your child how to spot opportunities to not only be kind, but inclusive, they will be able to go into the world with confidence and actually enact that kindness. Sometimes people may want to be kind, but they just don't know how to do it or when to do it. We live in a world with several different contexts where different behaviors may be appropriate or inappropriate. And so really maximizing on these teaching moments to tell your child, this is a perfect opportunity for someone to be kind. This would make so much of a difference if they were kind, if you were kind, if I were kind, if everyone was kind. And as the safe adult and as the point of contact for your child, and they look up to you. So you setting the pace and setting the tone really makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And so there is that increase in terms of our awareness, our lens that we're really focused on. Is this an opportunity to talk about this? And is this an opportunity to really encourage the attitudes and the skills and the tools that I want my children to be following, right? So books, media are great. They're honestly resources where we get to talk about things. And we know that there's some great programming that exists specifically about kindness. There's books specifically about how to be kind and inclusive. So it takes maybe a little bit of time to just review on Amazon, go to the book shop to find these things. But if it's something that we have that great intention to increase in our family's life, we're going to go ahead and get that. And it could be a reward, you know, oh, you've been so wonderful at school this week. I know how hard it is to really stay focused and make great choices. So I want to reward you and get you a new book at Book Nook. And it's a great story about being kind, because we're going to strengthen that skill in you already.
If I may make a suggestion, there's a wonderful book called The Go-Giver, and it really touches on kindness, and not just in school, but in your professional and personal life, and how it's a big game changer. So I would recommend it.
I
It's
love that.
very short book too. You can finish that in an afternoon.
There was a really lovely one too, The Bucket Filler, I think it's called. But it is very much about that and how we each have a bucket and we fill up our own bucket by being kind to others and being kind to ourselves too. And it's just a lovely story how you can see these opportunities where children and teens are being kind to one another. And it can be very small, like a smile, holding the door open, or it can be a little bit more in terms of effort where you're helping to paint your neighbor's house because they're on the older side or not as mobile, right? And so strategy 3, this is really about positively reinforcing kindness. So we believe at FRC, but research backs it up, that we get what we focus on. And so as the parent, if we are constantly using parenting strategies that are more consequential and more focused on the behaviors we don't want to see or we want to encourage our children to change, we actually get more of what we don't want. And so if we focus on when our child is operating with kindness, we're noticing that, and we're providing specific praise, we are reinforcing that this is something that's acceptable. And science says we should be focused on what our children do well and provide that specific praise 5 times more than using consequential parenting practices. You are going to get more of what you want when you focus on what is going well. And so notice when they're being kind. And sometimes, and I can be guilty of it too, believe me, there's no perfect parent. But it could be something simple where our child has shared with their sibling or been kind and given us something, or smiled at a friend or said hello. It could be as simple as you can make it, right? So, but noticing it is kind of the hard part, and then providing the specific praise. So specific praise means I'm not just saying good job, I'm not just saying well done, or I'm not just saying high five, I'm so proud of you. It's being very specific on what it was you noticed. I noticed you held the door open for Billy, and that was so kind because he had his hands full. Well done, high five, right? And high fives and hugs, that really just elevates. And we can be a little obnoxious and really be kind of like their cheerleader in that moment to really highlight that this is a huge deal instead of taking it for granted or allowing our child to take it for granted too. And encouraging simply like chores at home. You know, we all live here. We're all responsible for our home and the functioning of our home. And so we're each going to help with various chores at home, helpful habits. And so, of course, that can be age and developmentally appropriate. So maybe mommy is in charge of the cooking, but the 8-year-old is helping with putting ingredients together or setting the table, or helping to get everybody to the dinner table, right? So it can depend. And again, we're all individual families with individual members. So we can be inclusive in that way too, and making sure that we're all helping, but also at the level that we really can. Involving them in service, volunteering, being involved with something that is bigger than yourself, it definitely fills up your cup, and it definitely echoes that essence of being kind and caring for others. Gives children and adults, of course, a sense of purpose, especially when they need it most. And a great way to get into this can be simply having your child come along with you to something you choose that we're doing as a family, sure, but being collaborative is great too. And it encourages greater buy-in from our children and our teens to say, well, you know what, I really like that we volunteer together as a family, but I want you to decide where we go and what we do. And you can provide a few examples. It could be that we're going to the beach together and we're going to do a beach cleanup. It could be that Mr. Ebank's house down the road, I noticed that he needs some help in the yard. We could help him out or at least offer it to him. Or it could be a bit more formal where we're noticing that there's a special project on by ARC, the Acts of Random Kindness organization, and we want to help out and get involved and become a volunteer. But giving your child a little bit of that independence or autonomy to go out and do the research and see what's out there, or use their critical thinking skills and creativity to come up with an idea of how they can give back will be wonderful, because then it's their idea. It's not just mom and dad telling them what to do. It's, wow, I really like this idea about how we can take care of our environment, mom. Let's go to this event, dad. Let's see how we can help out in this area, right? And again, any thoughts, questions, ideas for other parents, please feel free to put in the chat. As parents, we're incredible problem solvers and very creative. And so you maybe are already doing some really great things and you'd like to maybe share with fellow parents, please feel free. But yeah, let's hear more about inclusion, Nathan.
So if you're wondering how inclusion ties in with kindness and what inclusion can look like for your family, here's a quote from our CEO, Ms. Shan Harriman. It's important for parents to encourage empathy and compassion. What does that mean? It means teaching your children to accept people for who they are, not how they differ. To unpack this a little bit, inclusion starts with parents. It starts with parents modeling acceptance and kindness. You are the first stop in inclusion and an important role model in how they perceive and go into the world. Encourage your child to listen and to include peers with disabilities in conversations and decisions during group activities, during class, during recreational or club activities. Teach children that everyone deserves friendship, respect, and has a voice. And that voice may or may not necessarily be verbal. Always presume competence. Always presume that just because somebody perhaps cannot speak, that doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing or that they don't understand what's being said to them. Remember that friendships and relationships are fundamentally human rights. Belonging is a human right. It's also very important to know that different does not mean less. Now that we have a firm grasp of inclusion, how can your family seek out inclusive opportunities? In a nutshell, it's by encouraging shared experiences and support. Choose inclusive schools, clubs, and sports programs where children of all abilities can learn and play. Offer support. Examples may include carpooling, for instance, or maybe offering help so that persons and peers with disabilities can join into activities where they might otherwise be excluded. Get involved in community activities that promote and educate around disability awareness, and encourage your children to be inclusion champions. And if you don't understand what an inclusion champion is, it is very similar to being an upstander.
Mhm.
They are one and the same, and it's important to remember that. And most importantly, when you see exclusion, whether you be parent or child, speak up, tell somebody. It's important that we know, and it's important that we counteract this with inclusion and kindness.
And Nathan, is it fair to say that if a parent is looking for a school club or sport program that is inclusive, that they could potentially reach out to Inclusion Cayman to get a good idea of where those places could be?
Certainly. My team is very passionate around connecting and creating and facilitating and connecting people with inclusive services in all areas of life.
Perfect. So now we're going to get into hearing from our parents and having you have a think. We do have a poll that you can engage in with us. And this first scenario, we're really looking at different sides or within different roles. So how would you handle this? Your child comes home and shares that there's a new child at school and they're getting picked on for being quote unquote different. But your child shares that they're too scared to stand up to become an upstander, or maybe they don't even have that language. What do you do as the parent in this situation? So we have a poll launched, and you are welcome to just put in there what you would potentially do. And it can happen like this. It can happen in the blink of an eye that our child is coming to us with something. And this is a great opportunity to use this real life situation to support them. So what would we do in this situation? They've come home, there's a new child, that child is getting picked on, but your child feels too scared to stand up. But they are coming to you. You are the safe adult, safe that they can report this to. What would you do as a safe adult? Now we have the poll. You can answer, you can put it in the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact, really have a think, write some things down. This could be a great conversation starter with your partner or other persons in your family helping to raise your children. Yeah, and maybe when you're dropping off your child, you're sitting with another parent. Hey, what would you do in this situation? I was attending a webinar and they mentioned this. What would you do? It's always great to talk to other parents and get different perspectives. Now, in this situation, as a parent, I would say potentially to fall back on your value systems, right? Reassure them that they are doing nothing wrong by standing up, and asking them what are some ways they could be an upstander in this situation. And again, going back to role play and using toys to role play what they could potentially do tomorrow when they go back to school. Getting our children to come up with their own ideas is always better than just telling them simply what to do. And let's see what our poll says. I'm going to share the results. And I'm trying to view the results, but it's going into something else. I thought I'd be able to see it straight away. Okay, but thank you for sharing. Now, our next poll is, how would you handle this? So this is from the perspective that our child is maybe engaging in bullying behavior. And of course, our child can be in any one of these roles. They could be a target one day and another day engaging in bullying behavior. And there's no shame in it. All children are learning and need support in how to make great choices. So here we have the principal calling us to share that our child's been suspended, has been bullying others at school, and they're being suspended from school. Not a call any parent wants to receive. But how would we handle this? And let me make sure our poll is launched. And again, you could put in the comments. It's always great because you never You never know what parent is in need of your advice and what you would do in that situation. Oh, I was hoping it would allow me to launch this.
It came up for me, but it's showing scenario 1.
Yeah, it's not allowing me to launch. Okay, and that one and launch. My apologies. I haven't played with polls in a minute. But again, this is something to think about, food for thought. Now, I would definitely say before we get to this call that hopefully we have a good relationship with the school that our child goes to, and that does require effort on our part too, in getting to know them and being kind to the principal and the teachers and the educators and creating a good relationship there. So that's in a preventative way. It can be also that we want to maybe seek a bit more information. If this is a complete surprise to us, how long has this been going on, and what, were there any red flags that the school noticed, and when did this happen? Is it during the lunchtime or during class time, and what's the supervision like, and um, what led to this, right? So there's some questions that we can ask, and we should feel definitely as the parent a right to ask and get to understand the situation. And then also, how has the school handled it? Okay, so in this instance, they're suspending the child. And then what, right? What will happen when the child comes back? What's the expectation there? And then there's nothing wrong with chatting with that principal and saying, I have some ideas of how I might handle this at home. I just want to know what you think. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? That might feel uncomfortable for some parents, and that's okay. Um, but it could be, yes, there might be a consequence necessary here, but we also want to be future forward and think about what are some skills or some tools that my child needs to support them when they go back to school tomorrow. And we really want to see some change behavior. What are we doing there? How are we sharing about what our family stands for and how we treat one another? And bullying doesn't just come out of nowhere. A child engaging in that is often going through a lot of things behind the scenes and under the surface that they maybe feel too scared to share about. It could be that mentorship or other interventions would be really helpful for them to share about their feelings and how to manage those. They could be struggling with managing anger. And there's no one answer to this because, again, every child is individual. But it's good to pay attention, and going back to strategy 1 and having a great relationship with our child really helps us, because when we know our child, we can support them towards change behavior. And Nathan, any advice you would give here?
I would say no matter who is in what role, it's important to make sure that all parties are heard and feel like they're being heard.
Absolutely. And oh no, it's asking that. Okay. So we're going to go to the third and final scenario. And this is from the standpoint of bystander. Your child shares their online, as target. Your child shares their online. They're being mocked by a so-called friend, and they've come to you for advice. What's some advice that you would give them? So just launching there. So that's one to think about, right? We're in the online realm. Do we have rules of engagement around how our children are expected to engage online? Do we know who this friend is? Do we know who this friend is in real life? And we've had a question here. Is there a way that Inclusion Cayman or FRC can encourage schools to have an inclusion champion role per year, group or class group, same as they have for student council or other initiatives? I love this. Thank you so much for that question. And certainly something that FRC has done for a few years is we've done up standard trainings in the school, and they often involve prefects or those that are considered student leaders who then have that expectation to educate others about bullying and how to prevent it. And they also can be a group of upstanders. We have power in numbers. And so we encourage that there's never just one person who's an upstander, because that's a huge responsibility, but that we're really creating this wave that we're all upstanders essentially, but in the school that you or this group has your pin, it says upstander on it. So me as another student know that I can come to you and you're going to help me, and you're going to go as a group to the staff to get further support if needed. So those are ways that we have been a part of this, but also we are now really wanting that this isn't just a campaign that lives with FRC or the department, but that our young people really take this on. It becomes a movement more so than just a monthly campaign, and that we're thinking and talking and making change year round every day. And so we do have an ambassadors training or ambassadors scheme that is really for those older people in high school and even college, school leavers also, that want to be a part of this campaign and want to further it and to have their voices heard and be creative, have that initiative to really create new and exciting ways to put an end to bullying within their respective roles and spheres of control. And it's going to look really good on their resume and in an interview to say that here is how I'm supporting. I'm going along with the FRC to be a co-facilitator in presentation. I am taking lead on a special webinar. I am taking lead in this special initiative in my school. And so those are some ways that we offer that. And in terms of becoming an upstander or an ambassador, and I'll allow Nathan to chat about the inclusion champion role.
Well, for us, inclusive champion is something that really anybody can be a part of and anyone can become. And whenever we go into schools, and we go into schools quite often, becoming an inclusive champion is our take-home message, and something that we strongly encourage everybody listening to become. And we continue to do that when we give our presentations, regardless of whether it be to a child or to an employer. It's really just about embodying all the things that make life worth living. It includes making sure that no matter who you are, you have access to the good things in life, and that you can stand up for what is right, and that you can stand up for another person when you see that maybe that's not the case. And if you can take away one thing from this presentation, is that inclusion and kindness, it starts with the parents and it starts with you and how you model that behavior. And so when we go into schools, we model that behavior also.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I definitely think modeling is one of the greatest teachers. So we hope that helps to answer your question. But again, we can have a chat outside of here. And if you asking that question, if you have a specific idea, we're happy to hear you out and get involved. Now we are extending our kindness to our community partners and our change makers in our community. And as this webinar was originally designed to be an in-person forum, we had invited several of our friends over. And so we just want to highlight some of what they have either as a resource or they have coming up. And so our friends at Alex Panton Foundation, I highly recommend the kidshelpline.ky website. They have some incredible resources on there when you go to the parents tab. This one in particular is about parents and bullying, and it goes into an incredible resource of information. And we see here they had a local artist, Miss Michelle Bryan, all over their website, which I loved seeing. I love her artwork. And so we highly recommend you check that resource out. And of course, Alex Panton Foundation does a lot in the community. So definitely follow them for more. And Life Literacy is for Everyone conference. This, I believe, is Life's first conference ever. They have an incredible lineup of panelists that are focused on everything you can possibly think when it comes to what impacts early childhood. So go to lifeconference.ky to register for more. And you have to be quick because that is this Saturday and registration is required. And we had the National Drug Council. They are starting their Arrive Alive campaign even earlier. And it certainly impacts us as parents. We, again, have to model making good choices and ensuring we're setting a good example that we are driving safe and sober. But also, as a parent, there's information NDC has shared that children as young as 11 are engaging in substances and alcohol consumption. So something to bear in mind, especially around the festivities when we maybe have a bit more alcohol in the home. That does create access for our children. So that was something they wanted me to raise with you. And again, reach out to NDC because they love to talk to parents about all of their great resources. And for us, we are partnering with One to One. One to One is a mentorship program. We are also partnering with Young Gentlemen's Club and Boys to Men as we step into International Men's Day campaign. We want to see men encouraging and supporting boys in their healthy development. And so you can even scan right here to, if you're interested in becoming a mentor, or share this information with someone you think would be a great fit. And it's low commitment, but we want high caliber men. And we know that you guys are busy, so we're keeping it as low commitment as possible. But it's a great opportunity and you get trained up. There are expectations and intake processes, of course, but we want to connect you with these great initiatives. And so just to keep the conversation going, you want to learn more, have more tools and resources. You want to become a client of ours, which is completely free. You can go ahead and scan the QR code here and or pass this information on to another family member you think would benefit greatly. We do programs, presentations like this year round. Obviously, this is open to the public, but we can get into more individualized and confidential material. We also have our WhatsApp channel, so feel free to scan the code here also and follow us. We update our WhatsApp channel about many different events and programs and initiatives that we're offering, that our community partners are offering. So feel free to stay in touch and stay updated. And of course, my friend Nathan is going to share about their upcoming Lunch and Learn.
So upcoming on our docket, if you go to the Chamber of Commerce website, we have a Lunch and Learn, Building Inclusive Workplaces with Inclusion Cayman. And you can go there and register now. And my colleague and I will be presenting on how employers can work to just be a little bit more inclusive and just create a more inclusive environment for everyone.
This is great. So this would be great.
I do want to emphasize that Inclusion Cayman is also entirely free. It's a non-for-profit. And so if you know anybody who may need our services, please feel free to shoot us a text, email, or a call, or simply just walk into our office during office hours. We would be happy to talk more and discover.
Yes, thank you. And we had just a thank you for this excellent webinar on bullying and how to support your loved ones if they're affected. So thank you so much for that. And I'm also going to go ahead with this said to thank you, Nathan, for being here. And we appreciate parents being here and on YouTube. We know it can be quite a high stress time, especially with everything going on. And if we have friends and family in Jamaica or Cuba or Haiti that are impacted by Melissa, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And we know that Caribbean people, we're very resilient people, and we also come together and we are kind during disasters. And so I know that this will be something that we can get through. And I've just launched our evaluation, so please feel free to share about how we did today, if you found this information beneficial, and feel free to put in the chat or the comments on YouTube if you have any ideas of other topics or any advice or feedback for us. We're more than happy to hear it. We believe in feedback that only makes us stronger and better. So feel free to share. And yeah, just overall how you found this. And I'll keep that open for a minute if anyone wants to ask any more questions or share, and I'll be ending the poll shortly. And again, thank you so much, Nathan, for being here. Please follow our friends at Inclusion Cayman, follow us, follow all the incredible community providers that we have. There is great work being done in our community, and a lot of it that is free to us. So please take advantage of all that is being offered.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll keep the poll open a little bit more. All right, and if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, feel free on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not so great, not so beneficial, to 5 being that this was a really helpful webinar and resource for you. Feel free to just pop a number between 1 to 5 in the comments box, and we will take that. Again, you can provide any feedback you'd like also in writing. But again, this helps us, this information, this data, this rating, and we appreciate feedback greatly. So I'll end there for today. And again, just a final thanks and take care, everybody.